Hi, it's Patrick Hutzel from IntensiveCareHotline.com, where we instantly improve the lives of families of critically ill patients in intensive care, so that you can have real power, real control, and so that you can influence decision making fast, even if you're not a doctor or a nurse in intensive care. This is another episode of Your Questions Answered, and in last week's episode I wrote about how long is too long to stay on a ventilator or respirator. You can check it out by clicking on the link below this video. In this week's episode of Your Questions Answered, one of our dear readers from Perth, Australia asks the following questions. My mother wants to go home on a BIPAP machine from intensive care. Can she survive? Hi Patrick, this is Louise from Perth, Australia. I need your feedback and help regarding this, and I hope to receive your answer as soon as practically possible. My mother, aged 75 years, has been admitted to the ICU because of respiratory failure. It's been a week that she has been there with the help of the BIPAP machine. She is completely dependent on the BIPAP machine. But she is conscious and is recognizing people well enough, but she's struggling to cope with the situation, and I'm not sure whether she'll survive. She's suffering from long-standing diabetes and hypertension as well. It's been just a few hours that our family decided to get her discharged from the hospital and provide the entire equipment at home ourselves. We are sick of the hospital system and we want her at home with dignity and privacy. She has now been treated from home by our family with the entire life supporting system. The doctors have also diagnosed changes in the renal system as well. I would like to know that for how long can my mother survive on that machine in this condition? I hope to receive your reply at your earliest convenience. Regards, Louise. Hi Louise, thank you for your email and thank you for your question. I'm sorry to hear what you are going through with your mother. However, I can see some good things coming out of the situation as well. I can also only commend you for taking your mother home to provide her with privacy and dignity, something that can often not be achieved in intensive care. To answer your questions, if your mother is in respiratory failure and BIPAP dependent and wants to go home, you may have to think about the following questions, and I'm sure that your family and your mother may have already thought about some of those questions. So let's look at those questions. Is your mother going home and expects to improve her situation? Or is your mother going home because she doesn't want to stay in intensive care and she wants comfort at home? If the latter is the case, I can only commend you for your decision, because a lot is possible at home, and just by taking your mother out of intensive care to the comfort of her own home, she will probably get a moral boost, even though she may be sick and weak at the moment. To put things in perspective for you and for your family, the reality is that some people live at home fully ventilated and fully ventilator dependent, with a tracheostomy even. They generally do so with the help of specialized intensive home care nursing services such as Intensive Care at Home in Australia. You can check them out at their website at intensivecareathome.com.au. Other countries such as Germany, Austria and Switzerland also have a long-standing history of intensive home care services for ventilator-dependent adults and children with tracheostomy as a genuine alternative to a long-term stay in intensive care. You didn't mention a tracheostomy, so I assume that your mother is on a BIPAP machine, ventilator dependent, with a face mask. Generally speaking, and in theory, people can live on a BIPAP machine indefinitely. However, with the other medical issues that you've mentioned, such as the respiratory failure, the hypertension, the diabetes, and the kidney issues, you and your family might need professional help in order to prolong the life of your mother if that's what you want. For more information about how long people can live on a BIPAP machine, check out this article below this video, and the article is about how long is a patient kept on a BIPAP machine in intensive care. Also, In an intensive care environment, your mother would have close monitoring of her hypertension, of her diabetes and her kidney issues. In order for your mother to improve at home, the same would apply. Having said that, as I have hinted before, I am personally a big believer in home care, and there is no reason why your mother can't have those observations at home as well. My biggest concern with home BIPAP and kidney issues or kidney failure is that if the kidneys don't work properly, your mother might get fluid overloaded, as the diminished urine output might accumulate fluids in the lungs and make your mother even more dependent on the BIPAP. Therefore, depending on the severity of the kidney issues, you might have to keep a very close eye on fluid intake and urine output in order to not have your mother fluid overloaded. The biggest question, however, for you, for your family and for your mother is, what do you want to achieve? Are you seeking comfort measures in your own home, or are you seeking to improve your mother's situation and have her off the ventilator completely? If you could shed more light on your situation, I can certainly point you in the right direction. Part of our services here in Australia is to provide intensive care at home, and you can find more information at intensivecareathome.com.au. So, I can give you expert advice if you can be more specific about your situation. If you want to also have a chat on Skype, this would be free of charge and you can contact me there. Sincerely, your friend Patrick. And how can you leverage your level of power, influence and control whilst your loved one is critically ill in intensive care? I'm sure if you've watched this video, you are wondering, how can I get more power, control and influence whilst my loved one is critically ill in intensive care? Now, you'll get to that all-important feeling of power, control and influence when you download your free Instant Impact Report now by entering your email below. In your free Instant Impact Report, you'll learn quickly how to get real power and real control and how you can influence decision-making fast whilst your loved one is critically ill in intensive care. Our free report will help you with in-depth insight that you must know whilst your loved one is critically ill or is even dying in intensive care. Sign up for your free membership now and download your free Instant Impact Report below. In your free Instant Impact Report, you learn how to speak the secret intensive care language so that the doctors and the nurses know straight away that you are an insider and that you know and understand what's really happening in intensive care. In your free report, you'll also discover how to ask the doctors and the nurses the right questions, how to eliminate fear, frustration, stress, struggle and vulnerability even if your loved one is dying. You get 5 killer tips and strategies helping you to get on the right path to control, power and influence in your situation. You'll get crucial behind the scenes insight so that you know and understand what's really happening in intensive care and how you need to manage doctors and nurses in intensive care, and it's not what you think. Thank you for tuning into this week's episode of Your Questions Answered, and I'll see you again in another update next week. Make sure you also check out our blog section for more tips and strategies, or send me an email to support@intensivecarehotline.com with your questions. This is Patrick Hutzel from intensivecarehotline.com, and I'll see you again next week in another update.